You don't need to do an Ironman. And before you go typing down in the comments about how I'm just too scared to do it or not willing to do the training, I have just a tiny little bit of credibility when it comes to talking about this race. I recently completed my first Ironman actually about a month ago. And since then, I've been doing a ton of reflection on not just the race itself, but the entire 2 years leading up to the race of training. In this video, I just want to talk about 3 big things that I've taken away about the Ironman itself and what you can learn from someone who has already gone through the training and gone through the race before you decide to jump in on the bandwagon a little bit of your own. And let me start by first clarifying that the Ironman is incredible. Entire experience of the race and everything, absolutely wonderful. Definitely going to be a memory that I will absolutely never forget. But before signing up, you need to make sure of your reasons. You have to know your why, and you really got to make sure that it's actually your why and not someone else's why to do an Ironman. So let's start off with number 1, motivation versus validation. Doing an Ironman to prove something to others, to post online, to just seek any external validation can really leave you feeling empty after you cross that finish line. Think of it as intrinsic versus extrinsic goals. Intrinsic goals come from within. You do it because you love pushing your limits, you want to see how far you can push them, you want to grow, and you're just curious to see what you're actually capable of. For me, that came from the moment I saw one of my favorite YouTubers, Average Rob, complete his first Ironman. And the very first thought I had when I watched this was, man, I could never do something like that. And this thought really just stuck with me. Like, why is that the first thing I think when I see someone do something hard is, man, I could never do that, rather than, I definitely could, but right now I'm not in the place in my life to be able to do that training and sacrifice. There's 2 very different mindsets there. And this just stuck with me, and it became a big personal challenge, something that I had to just prove to myself, not to anyone else around me. So, as you can see, this is a very intrinsic goal of mine. This is the type of goal that keeps you going when no one else is watching. This is what makes sure you actually get up when that 4 a.m. alarm rings for some training. Intrinsic goals are meant to actually give you energy rather than drain it. Extrinsic goals, though, on the other hand, are extremely different from this. They're about proving something to someone else or those around you, about getting validation, showing people that you're that guy. You know what I mean? And sure, that kind of motivation can definitely get you across the finish line, but after you cross it, you're just sat there thinking, well, you know, now what? I did the thing. Well, let's be fulfilled now. You know, let me feel some great sense of pride in myself. But when your why is coming from the outside, you know, all of this training just turns into an obligation rather than something that you actually want to do. And you're kind of left feeling hopeless. And that ties into number 2, a very big important thing, the social pressure trap. In today's fitness culture, everything has to be extreme. I'm sure you've noticed this. You scroll through social media and it's just constant. People doing Ironmans, people doing ultra marathons, people doing 100-mile races, lifting half a ton. You know what I mean? It's always something more extreme from the last. And it just kind of starts to make your training feel meaningless. It seems like all these extreme things have just become the absolute minimum, pretty much just the standard. But here's the truth. You really don't need to destroy yourself to prove to yourself that you're disciplined. Going to the gym consistently, eating well, and just having a darn good sleep schedule, that's already hard enough. You know, I feel like nearly everyone on the day-to-day struggles with at least one of those 3 things. And these are the things that will actually build long-term discipline. Ironman training teaches discipline, sure, but so does just showing up for yourself on an everyday basis for your goals. Don't let social media trick you into thinking that more suffering equals more value. That's just not how it works. You should be the one to decide what's meaningful to you, not those on the outside. So this leads me into number 3, what you actually learn from an Ironman. And I'm sure you've heard many people talk about this in the fitness space, but the value of an Ironman doesn't come from the race day itself. It comes from the journey leading up to it. You learn structure, humility, and how to stay consistent when your motivation absolutely fades away. But those lessons aren't just exclusive to an Ironman or some extreme race. They can just come from any challenging goal that you may have set for yourself. Whether that's a marathon, a local sprint triathlon, or just committing to a daily walk in the morning rather than scrolling on your phone. I know I'm a victim of that, and I'm working on that. But crossing the finish line isn't gonna magically fix your self-worth or your identity crisis. If you're struggling before the race, chances are you're still gonna be struggling afterwards. The race can reveal things about you, but they most definitely can't fix them for you. You don't need this label of an Ironman to be seen as disciplined or to live a hardcore life and disciplined life. And I know I might sound a little contradictory saying that when I went and did the Ironman, but like we spoke about earlier, is a very intrinsic goal for me. I felt like I needed to do it for me, not for external validation or things like that. I was in a portion of my life where I had a lot of negative self-talk and thinking I wasn't capable of doing things, and this was a good journey for me to have to prove to myself that I could. But it's not the Ironman title that made me realize that. It was the years of training that led up to it. The race is expensive, time-consuming, and can very easily take over your life. It oftentimes means sacrificing rest, flexibility, and even sometimes your relationships. For a lot of people, that's just not sustainable. And truthfully, that's okay. You know, I'm young, I had a lot of free time. I had the time to train, put it simply. I don't have a wife and kids, husband and kids, anything like that. I didn't have that many responsibilities other than school and weightlifting. So I was able to take the leap into this training. But like I said, for others, that's just not sustainable, and it's fine. Real endurance isn't just about your physical ability. It's about showing up every single day for your goals, your health, your relationships, just for your future self. You know, what would the you of tomorrow want you to do? Would they really care if you did an Ironman or some extreme race or not? Or would they just be happy that you got to spend time with your family and you took care of yourself and those around you and you showed up for them? I think it's a pretty obvious answer. You don't need to do this specific race to prove anything. You just need to chase something that genuinely means something to you. It really doesn't matter what it is. And don't get me wrong, if that is the Ironman for you, like it was for me, that's awesome. But do it because you want to, not because you just think that you have to do it. Alrighty everyone, that is gonna be it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I know it was a little different, but if you do like content like this, please do subscribe. I'll see y'all next week probably, all right? Peace.